star 572-0383 and 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Welcome to Meet the Minister, your inside look at government in action. Tune in every Friday at 10 a.m. on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM for Meet the Minister, a powerful 60-minute conversation with a minister from the SLP government hosted by Jerry Fenelon. Get first-hand insights into the government's policies, programs, and progress as we discuss the issues that matter to you. Stay informed, stay engaged. That's Meet the Minister with Jerry Fenelon, Fridays at 10 a.m. only on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM.
Now let's join the hosts of Meet the Minister, Terence Fenelon. Mr. Fenelon, welcome.
Thank you, Andre, for welcoming me back into your studio.
It's my pleasure.
Let me say hello to our friends in Radioland, on Facebook, YouTube, and on X.
That's right.
We're far and wide.
And don't forget our special, I shouldn't say special, but we have listeners in the town of Soufrière and environs.
Soufrière, Auntie Emma's territory and environs. Yes, we're happy to have you. Yeah, everybody essentially will be Auntie Emma's people, in Soufrière. I mean, Auntie Emma is doing tremendous work. So, Andre, I say that with all confidence, But before I introduce my special guest today, I need to deal with a couple of things. I mean, my producer has told me I need 10 minutes to do that. Andre, your last caller, I know you very well. He said the special prosecutor was brought in to look into acts of corruption into the former administration. That is wrong. The special prosecutor is there to look into acts of corruption. Period. The guy would understand that well. Period. It doesn't matter who does it. Whether it's the opposition, the present administration, civil servants, it's across the board. It is not targeted at any one particular group of people. So I need to clarify that for your listening public. Okay? It is there for everybody.
But if I remember clearly, the special prosecutor spoke about a few issues, and they were all related to the last administration.
Well, that's where his investigations are pointing to. But he's there to look into acts of corruption, period. Okay, guy? The period guy would understand that well. It's not just one person, it's not an administration, it's across the board. There's another spirited caller who talk about, the vaccine thing he has been explained. No, $7.3 million by a handwritten check was given to a guy in the cement factory, cement production, and he gave it to an entertainment fella, Radical something. That money has not been returned, my dear. We got 1 million. That's about 2.7 million. The rest is out there. We still need our money. So that is not propaganda, miss. It is a fact.
Is the government pursuing this matter?
Yes, I think they are. You know what I mean? With this guy. So that was reckless on the part of your leader to give. And Andre, that is criminal, because our financial act says you give 10% on matters like that. You give 100%. And you expect, and you say that is propaganda. That is a fact. All right? So, my dear lady, I know you are a spirited supporter. But come with the evidence. The evidence is that we have only received $1 million US. That's 2.7. We still have about 4-point-something million outstanding that we have not yet retrieved. That the opposition leader needs to help us retrieve that money. Because he made a statement. He said that we'll be lucky to get that money back. I mean, that's outrageous. So I'm not going to dwell on that. Talk about health. St. Jude's opening, and the improvement to all of the wellness centers. Look, Babono Foisons have wellness centers on the repair. You understand? We're making strides. I mean, we're not perfect, but we're making strides. So relax. We are protecting a victory. No, we are not protecting an SLP victory. We are protecting the strides that we have made. The pensioners, we are taking care of them. The fisher folk, we are taking care of them. The farmers, you heard the minister last week, we are taking care of them. The students, we are taking care of them. 4 CXCs, laptops, those going into Form 1 get $500 bursary, etc. We are taking care of all of those people. That is what protecting the victory is, ma'am. Let me try to rearrange your intelligence there for you. Okay? It is not protecting the Labour Party. We are protecting the gains, and we have made serious gains. And our Minister of Equity and Social Justice and Empowerment will be talking about the gains, because, I mean, the ministry there's not a too sexy one, but it's one that is very impactful, touches the lives of the people. So Get your facts right, my lady. Okay, 2. I'll free over. I might be something. When yesterday I was listening to this vacuous, empty interview. I mean, the prospective candidate for Castries North. You asked some very simple questions you couldn't answer. These guys made a statement. Everything on the left is pure and white. I mean, that's racist. And everything to this side is black, like Philip J.P. And you're telling me up to this point in time, it's 2 weeks, you have not heard it. I'm telling you, I believe you're speaking a lie. I cannot trust you. What it is that you are afraid to comment truthfully in your heart because you know you would have run afoul of your leader. And then you would have been in trouble because you do not dare contradict your leader. You have to bow and you have to, totally submit. That was your issue yesterday. So to come and say you did not hear, I am going to say, I believe. I, Terence Erasmus Fenelon, believes that you lied. You're not speaking the truth. And based on that, I cannot trust you with high office. You're not truthful. Come on, man. That made the wrongs everywhere. You tell me you do not hear. You didn't want to comment because you're afraid. Just say that. So you kept your mouth shut. That now before I came in here, excuse me, Minister, I'm going to you know why. I'm reading some nonsense you say about racists and Labour Party are communists. No, sir, we are not communists. We are social democrats. We believe in the democratic process, but we believe in the philosophy of bread, freedom, and justice. And that is why Philip J. Pierre, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, when he has, as he's growing the economy, he's spreading the wealth among everybody. That is the philosophy of the St. Lucia Labour Party. We believe in bread, freedom, and justice for all. Everybody must eat. That is why you have the social programs that the minister will be talking about that again. I can go on about that. Let me tell you, you talk about racism. Who is the one who called Dr. Anthony a massa in his country and he said you change his name because who? And Dr. Anthony had to respond to that. Who was the one who said, who told the prison if you fought, go back to your country where Black Lives Matter? Who? Who is the one who stood on a podium that you are standing on and he told people I built my hotel for a white tourist? Who? Man, don't come and spew your nonsense, man. You are a diplomat, but I find you vacuous and empty. Cannot answer 2 free basic questions. And don't come on the radio and spew your garbage. You are a coward. You cannot stand and speak the truth because you know you're going to run afoul of your leader and that's going to put you in the doghouse. So you coward and you bowed and you took the easy road out. Tried to fool Andre. Andre is not fool, I'm educating Andre. Because we don't mess around in this thing. So don't come and call us communists. We're not communists. We are social democrats. We believe in the democratic process and we believe in the safety nets for our people. Because the poor will always have with us. The marginalized. But we have to take care. And that is how you rate a leader, by how we treat those people who cannot help themselves. They can't do much for themselves. So Dr. Anthony started with step and proud and nice and everything. We are continuing that process because that's the legacy of the St. Lucia Labour Party. Get it right, Mr. Free. You are a waste of time. Okay, I was not impressed with your interview. I found you to be vacuous and empty. I'm using these words again. You're hedging and you're not truthful. That is what I perceived from that interview. Now, Minister, I don't want to get too heated there. No. I will deal with you on Monday in another forum where I'll be free to musty pay on you. But this is Meet the Minister. This is a program of class. So let me put my tail between my legs now and let me go. Let me introduce the Honorable Joachim Henry, the Minister of Equity, Social Justice and Power. Welcome to the program, Meet the Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Fenelon.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me say good morning to Andre, my good friend.
Morning, sir.
And of course,
welcome to Rev-Up.
Yes, Rev-Up. Lovely place.
First time here.
Thank you.
It's my first time here.
Thank you.
And of course, to persons in Radio Land and elsewhere. I heard that you even have them on X, is it?
That's right. X,
yes, YouTube and
Facebook, all over the place.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning to everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday.
Yes. Now, before we go too far, we have to pay homage to a fallen comrade. You know who died, Andre? Who passed away this morning?
No.
One of the stalwarts of the St. Lucia Labour Party. He added to our lexicon. When you hear things like salubrious nexus.
Oh my. Oh no.
Yeah, Andre. when I heard that
I
this morning.
hadn't seen him for a while.
Yes, actually, and just recently, I have his book, The Ramblings of a Mind.
I have,
That's the first
I have it
edition.
as well.
But the latest one, I have not yet purchased it. So that means when I go home this evening, when I'm relaxed, Andre in bed and stuff, I'll order from Amazon the latest writings from Fenelon John. So,
But was he ill?
yes, he was. Stalwart in Library. We just buried Mr. Watson. And now we greeted it with the sad news that one of our soldiers have fallen. So we want to extend condolences to his family. On this is a sad day. For us, it's a great loss in the St. Lucia Labour Party. And the country as well, because when you hear him speak, you learned a few words. You sent me to my dictionary and stuff. So, Mr. Minister, I don't know if you want to
Yes.
come in on this one there.
Yeah, well, certainly I wish to add my voice and, express my deepest condolences to the family. I'm privileged to have had the opportunity to speak with him. During my stint in the public service, I spent approximately 11 years working in the public service in the Ministry of Planning, and had an opportunity to speak with him and to work with him on a few projects. So I know for the Labour Party and the St. Lucia Labour Party fraternity and all of the comrades, we certainly we are mourning the loss of a giant, a great man. He has served us well, St. Lucia that is. He has worked in as a magistrate, I understood. Yes, in the legal fraternity. He has made his contribution to St. Lucia, and of course we salute him and we mourn with the family at this time. And
yes. So the Laborians, I know all the Laborians. You have been going through Watson now, the great Fenelon John, and we'll pay homage to him better next week, because he wrote for us. He gave us a nice piece where he was not at the Bellevue town hall, but he wrote and he says, "If I were there, this is what I would have said." Now I've been looking for that piece. I will get it. It must be somewhere. And he says, he told the public, "Listen, the Labour Party is on the correct trajectory.
Yeah.
We're doing the right things.
Yes.
Our policies are sound. And we must continue on that." You hear the opposition saying, "No, the country's in a mess." What mess? I mean, point out the mess. It's free you're talking about Shasta is the right man. Gave away 1,300 acres, vaccine money, outsource our budget $50 million to Ernst & Young. The carbon, yes, tsunami, we're going to deal with it. The carbon thing, by a stroke of pen, you just made them fellas richer by 60 million. Thing valued at 90, they gave it for 30 when NIC could have bought that. And tsunami, they're talking about land at Banan, corruption. I mean, when you think about the kind of things, barricading parliament, that is the right man for St. Lucia, Mr. Fevrier. Boy, I know your father well. I got my Christian education under your father, Vacation Bible School, where the Seventh-day Adventist church is now. That's why I used to go to Vacation Bible School as a little boy. RC, your father, Pastor Fevrier, man, I love a lot. Then we went up to Darling Road, and then you come and talk that kind of nonsense. Guys, you learned nothing from your father. I suspect you are. Let's go, Mr. Minister.
Yes.
Yes, we have that, so that's fine. Your ministries. No, before we go there, they need to know a little about you.
Yes.
Quantity surveyor. What does that mean?
Yes, well, I'm a quantity surveyor. I did my first degree and my second degree master's in quantity surveying. I responsible for, in fact, interestingly, my master's thesis was on procurement.
Procurement,
yeah. The change of procurement in St. Lucia.
Right.
Looking at what has happened, moving from the traditional submission of tenders on the GCT form of contract and using SMM5 as the standard method of measurement for works, and as well participating in the property market, valuing properties, working with the bank. I love cost estimating. I taught part-time at Safa Louis for the past 10 years, teaching persons to do estimates and what have you. So my first few years, 11 years, I worked in the Ministry of Planning as a quantity surveyor.
Okay.
And I've worked on a number of projects, both privately and in the public sector, schools and the waterfront buildings, the Darling Road. One of the projects I love a lot, the $8.6 million rehabilitation of Castries Market from what it used to be before, the arcade and what have you. So yes, I've participated in the built environment, as it were. But I love social work. And how I was introduced to social work, it had to do with the relocation projects of the public service. So I worked with Donovan William. He was the social planner. I was the quantity surveyor. But working on the Darling Road to relocate people, relocation for persons from Tetchime to Bel Air for the construction of Rosedam, relocation of for the construction of the road on Clark Street, to relocation of persons from Vieux-Fort to Cantonment. These projects brought about something that I love. I had to speak to people. I had to value their properties. And I recall having an exchange with one of the surveyors that I should not call somebody's house a shack, a dwelling home. So we had to value properties, for example, in Tetchime for the construction of the dam. In fact, when I listen to the conversation about Banan, it brings to mind the relocation of persons for the construction of Millennium Highway. I had a little difficulty with one senior person, Mr. Reynolds Pilgrim, who lived above the first tunnel, and we had to relocate him. And I recall he saying to me, look here, I was hatched in that house and I do not want to leave. You understand? His property was valued, had to be compensated, and of course had to move on for the construction of the Millennium Highway. We had to relocate people for the construction of Rosedam. So here at Bannon, you understand, persons may have to be relocated for further development. And that should be encouraged, and it is something that is ongoing. You understand? And the political mischief to make it seem like it is something
nefarious.
Yes, it's not that way. It is, how do you deal with these individuals? How do you manage transferring them elsewhere? That's important. And that led me into social work, because I participated at the instruction of Mr. It was John Compton at the time, Rosedam, emark the houses that had to be removed in Tetchime Millet to establish this new community they call New Bel Air.
Right.
You understand? The relocation of persons for Millennium Highway. I went into those homes, speak to these individuals, explain to them, value their properties. You understand? As well as in Conway. So that dealing with people, your own people, you develop a sort of a love in having to bring about solutions to persons as they wrestle in terms of being relocated. And that led me into social work.
Let me just ask you, because you brought up Bannon. Are you in any way involved in the discussion and the negotiation?
No, I'm not. I am not.
No.
What I from a professional standpoint, when I hear persons make mischievous politics
yes,
on matters relating to people, you understand, to achieve political gains, it's painful to me. Because I know whether it was the UWP administration or the SLP administration, we would have to reconcile the issue of Bannon. And the people who have been on Bannon know that they are there until a particular time. I used to go to Bannon and buy fish with my mother when I was living in Black Malay many years ago. And even then, the fishermen who actually established themselves with herds to manage their fishing ports and do what, they did that with a certain understanding and mindset. Because everywhere waterfront where we have our waterfront buildings, Andre, the fishermen used to be there. There were huts along there just like Bannon. But there came the time where we had to relocate them and build a waterfront office building. So it is that from that angle that I listened to the comments and I said, but look,
let me ask you, to the extent that you can reveal or talk, I mean, I know you're in cabinet. I want to believe that our government, the present government, is dealing with this matter in a very humane.
Absolutely.
And nobody will be disadvantaged.
Listen, there is a character a character of the Labour Party. Sometimes we do not discuss it. It's not just the doctrine that is enshrined in bread, justice, and freedom, but there's a character that comes with it. Putting people first is not just a saying. It is what comes out of the Labour Party, because that's why the Labour Party came out. Out of the struggle of putting people first, because how they were being treated on the plantation or what have you. So we came out of a struggle because people were being placed first. We said you cannot treat our people that way. And we will forever be a Labour Party that says our people need better. So, for example, the issue of land, if somebody wants to look at the character of the Labour Party, see why the Prime Minister, Philip Joseph Pierre, would say, if you are there on a residential plot of land, not more than 10,000 square foot, you will get it without paying for it. That is in the character of the St. Lucia Labour Party. You understand?
Yeah,
So it's not uncommon, and you're correct. A social democrat will always and forever put the people at the front of
and center.
and not just some people. If you go to the manifesto of the St. Lucia Labour Party, he said all of the people.
Right.
Because we would not have accomplished our goals if some people are left behind.
Yeah, that's right.
So it is not
There's no Bellow doctrine.
SLVs. Our policies would fail.
That's right.
The Belrose doctrine is anti.
It's anathema to us.
Very well. It takes us back. You understand?
Right.
All of the people.
Right.
All of the people. So the very essence of cabinet and the way we discussed is always about the people.
Right.
You know, and it is echoed. If it's not going to benefit the people, we are not considering it.
Correct.
Rich, poor, persons with disability, those who are able, those who are unable, black, white, red, green, the people of St. Lucia. It's our business.
Yes. So let's delve into your ministries now.
Yeah.
Now, folks, forgive me. This, you do things out of habit. I thought I had my bag with me. It's always with me. But for some reason, when I arrived here at your studio, Andre, looking for the bag, I realized I left at home. So I have to wing it today. So I'm going to depend on you, on your manifesto, etc.
Yeah,
but equity, just tell us what does it entail? We'll take it step by step.
The Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment, and of course renamed by the Prime Minister, and may have had good reasons for renaming it. The ministry, we moved from community development,
Yes.
social transformation, and now the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment. It is the ministry responsible for ensuring that no one is left behind. It is the ministry that takes all of the services that government provides across the board, be it health, education, access, all of the services, and focus on groups and people who most likely would fall out and be missed.
Those who would fall through the cracks.
Through the cracks. The Ministry of Equity ensures that we bring them up and say you should not be left behind. So marginalized groups, because sometimes where they are in the scheme of things, it's easy to forget them. The Ministry of Equity is responsible to ensure that happens. You understand? The people that rely on the natural systems of government and the private sector to go to the bank and build a house because they're employed and they're getting a salary. There's some people who are not able, but they still have a right to shelter and food. The Ministry of Equity ensures that through their programs. So take one area, for example, educational assistance. For the 4 years, we've spent approximately $7.4 million on educational assistance. That's the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice. That's in addition what the Prime Minister is doing at the Ministry of Education. But there are persons who would fall through the crack and may not be able to access education for a number of issues. Unable to buy the shoes, unable to get this, unable to get that. We've spent $7.4 million. Over 8,000 households have benefited thus far. 8,000 households.
8,000
households. What? We support them at preschool level, primary school, secondary and tertiary. The forms of assistance provided: textbook, uniform, shoes, bags, lessons, transportation, meals, CX fees, right? And tuition fees. The Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, through the St. Lucia Social Development Fund, our main vehicle,
Right.
our main vehicle. So you have the ministry, but we have some vehicles. The St. Lucia Social Development Fund is a vehicle. It needs, when you need to act, you need to move quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes government treasury system can prevent you from acting quickly. The St. Lucia Social Development Fund is a vehicle that can cause us to act quickly and to provide support when support is needed quickly.
Now, we did not discuss that, but, you know, my background, I'm a former principal.
Yes.
So I can testify to that.
Okay.
Because,
Okay.
Andre, we have had students on the fringe. And when all else has failed, we have called the SSDF and they come. What they require, though, is make sure that you are transparent, you provide your receipts, your invoices, etc., and they check up. So we get the check, sometimes up to 3-4 students, uniforms, including shoes, and good shoes, you know, fellas want Vans.
Yeah.
You know, now that, they say, why brand? No, these brands last a long time and stuff. So I have had the experience, so I know what you're saying there.
But look at how special the transportation is.
Mm-hmm.
Some parents are not able sometimes to provide the monies for the child to go to school to pay the transport. And again, it brings to mind the conversation on period poverty.
Correct.
You understand? For somebody to miss transportation. So we would provide either directly to the school principal and say, for Mary Jane, we providing X amount for transportation for this term.
That's right.
Because there may be a breakdown at home and it is not working well. So the St. Lucia Social Development Fund intervene with the school to ensure that child comes, that child get a bursary support for transportation back and forth. There are places where we have a contract with the minibus for a group of children in a particular community. Again, to prevent these children from falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
You understand? So the meals, sometimes we join with the school and ensure that these children, some special need children, receive support.
Well, the
You
minister,
understand? But let's move on to the other area.
I just have a quick question. How does the ministry ensure that there's no favoritism in the program? What checks and balances do you have?
Okay, some of our programs are demand-driven. Demand-driven. So people come to you and tell you their situation. They would speak to you. Andre, one of the things, I've been in social work for more than 20 years. The set of people that speak the truth are poor St. Lucians.
That's right.
Poor St. Lucians. If they ask you to loan them money and they'll pay back, you can trust them. Not a rich person in St. Lucia, I can tell you. They are honest and they do not waste your time. When they come and tell you the situation, believe it. So over the years, when we verify what people tell us, usually the situation is worse than they tell us. So one, it's demand-driven. Secondly, you get referrals. A school would call you and tell you, we have a child there, here's the situation, what can you do with us? And there are other agencies, for example, we have the public assistance, SLNet 3.0, where we do a proximity test, where we assess households for other forms of support. If we recognize that household is qualified to receive public assistance because of their vulnerability, and we see children there at home not going to school, we also refer them for additional support to cause that to happen.
Now, Andre's point, Andre, thanks for this intervention. Because, Andre, I have referred cases. And in my entire career, I have never asked a child or parent, what party you support.
Yeah.
Andre, that is just vulgar. That is just vile. I cannot contemplate that. A child is, let me just say, quickly, they say I'm talking too much, but one of the cases we had at Babono, we got a call. The homeroom teacher got a call and said, sir, we have not seen this child for how many weeks? I said, seriously? And it is bad. So I told the homeroom teacher and the bus, I said, well, use my vehicle. You know where he lives. I'll not say where he lives. Go and check him out for me. And the call came back from the bus, so it's bad. I said, what do you mean it's bad? No underwear, no socks. I said, but Bussa, you know what to do? Because, you know, in Babono, we have a place where we call Amazon. That's Aplau. I said, just go and do what you have to do. Because it's on your money, SSDF, well, taxpayers' money. And we had about number of students. I said, no, we put them on that. And when they went there, We had to get belts. I said, you can't buy one underwear, boy. You have to buy a whole set for the child, vests, etc. And get Mirage, etc. later on. And he says, so the shoes, $295. I said, you have to buy it. You understand? So we know that. And we didn't ask, what party is your mother supporting? You help the child. Yeah. So that I can vouch for, Mr. Minister.
That is, you cannot effectively administer social work with a prejudice.
That's right.
No, you cannot. And in fact, it is one of the characteristics of my politics that sometimes I get criticized for by some people, because I can't speak to people about the party when they are before me in tears.
That's right.
Absolutely not.
Correct.
When somebody has lost a loved one or son through gun violence and you reach into that mother crying, you do not ask or think which party that person is. You go into the embrace. If you have lost a loved one too, you're supposed to be able to feel. You understand? That is far from, because your presence is not even sufficient to bring solace to a hurting person.
Yeah.
You understand? So when in one of the strangest things I heard when I was in opposition, when I heard, Guy Joseph said to the then leader of opposition, the Prime Minister, who was saying, but our people not getting nothing. He said, for that you crying?
Yes.
For that you crying, you just start crying.
Heartless.
And I said, I sat in this little balcony there watching, I said, oh my God. You do not know what tears means? I know a gospel song that says God hears the sound of the tear when it falls,
Oh, yeah.
Even when a man is being executed and he's crying, the tears that are coming down, falling, mean something somewhere to somebody else, a parent and what have you. You cannot use that kind of conversation in a country that practices social democracy.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do this.
Yeah.
So for me, in administering the work of the ministry, politics is far from this. As a matter of fact, Andre, I could tell you, I know of a young lady who is assisting in the elder care program, and she was canvassing in the last election for the last party. And she met me and she said to me, Minister, I heard they will change me. I said, who said that? I said, because they say it, I will go in the news and say that you're not leaving. Because I felt offended that they should say to a young person who is serving, providing care, and she was doing a fantastic job with the person that she's working, that to bring about that mischief. So even those who are participating and serving, whether they belong to the next party, with me, and the Labour Party, and the Prime Minister that I work with, your job is sure, and it is safe, because we are putting you first.
Right.
So when we say we put in people first, it is not SLP people. It is UWP and SLPs. Every St. Lucian, we must put you first in the scheme of things. When the Prime Minister brought about the changes to the retirement benefits, pensioners, what, you think it's only SLPs that are pensioners?
Well, Dr. Farah, what's her name? Farah? What's her first name? She was in a Farah from.
Oh, the senator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Said that she hopes that when this is implemented, I mean, a woman with a doctorate, talking that kind of magic. You
cannot go into the list of pensioners and start to disaggregate.
But
as a matter of fact, I've never seen on any birth certificate they have your name, they have your parents, and they put your party on it. I haven't seen that on it.
Yeah, it's comic relief.
So I have another question, if you don't mind. I think you mentioned $7 million.
7.4.
Over the last, how many years?
4 years. Well,
years.
we're not 4 years yet. Yeah, but
right.
I just accounting.
Yes. So certainly, I mean, it's not a lot of money when you consider the needs of the people, right? So, in your opinion, is whatever assistance that you are distributing to those in need, is it sufficient? Can people manage?
Yes. Well, in the world of responding to needs, I'm not too sure if there's ever a time we will say what we receive is adequate. But we make do, and the success of the successful stories that I have, it's not that the person has received everything, but persons have received enough, or they are contented and they are thankful for what they can do. And I can just, somebody sent
any ideas to the number of people that you're currently assisting? Any idea?
Well, I said for the past 4 years, I think I have the total approximately, 14,000 students have benefited under the program thus far. But I just wanted to read. Somebody sent me a WhatsApp following the receiving assistance. They said, "Hello, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude for your generous support. Your assistance has made a tremendous difference and bring me one step closer to continuing my vocation. Thank you for your time and effort. This means more than I can express. This reminded me that there are leaders who genuinely care. I can tell from the way you speak. I wish you all the best in the next coming period. And if there's any way I can be of service to you, I will." Now, this person did not receive anything or everything, yet somebody can express such gratitude for the little that they've received and put it in words.
Yeah.
You understand? So it speaks to putting people first. You understand? The Bible says even parents know how to give their children good gifts.
Good gifts, yes.
Yet we're talking about imperfect people. You understand? So in our imperfection, in not having all of the funds that we need, yet we put resources in place for persons who would fall through the crack. You understand? Another area that is critical in the ministry is that of housing assistance. We've spent for the same period, over $5 million.
When you say housing assistance, what does that mean?
Yes. So, for example, the St. Lucia Social Development Fund, through its program, again through the same proxy means test by identifying critical situations, and there are some, Andre, if I have to take you to see the situation before and after, you would recognize the justice in it being done. That person doesn't have the means. So we have provided housing materials to 2,557 individuals during that period. 2,557 persons have received support through the SSDF through that period, right? We have rented homes, 278 households rent, because there are times when, whether the family court or through something that is happening that I cannot speak to, whether it's incest or especially with crime, where somebody is afraid for their life and the life of the family, we intervene, right? 278 households have benefited from rental services.
Decent housing.
Decent houses. We built brand new 47 homes across the island during that period. Utility support and assisted persons who cannot meet their utility bills. A total of 284 households. That's under our housing assistance program. You understand? And this is just another aspect. But if you take the constituency development program that the Prime Minister allocated resources for during that same period, $15 million was spent. And what? Burial assistance, more social infrastructure, medical assistance. The medical assistance is an interesting phenomenon. There are some services that are still expensive, even as we try to roll out, for example, cancer. You understand? Cancer is expensive, like the treatment, chemo. And there are times as the PAL rep, I've had to assist someone. You understand? And you do this through your constituency development program. Business support, in addition to the youth economy. The constituency development program, where all parliamentarians receive support.
All.
Not just the SLP government. And that has been said in more than one forum. But I think, Andre, sometimes St. Lucians take lightly of it. Again, the doctrine of the St. Lucia Labour Party bread, justice, and freedom. And it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. The Prime Minister, Philip Joseph Pierre, would not be totally Labour if he refused to provide support to the constituencies that are on the UWP reign. Because there are solutions there.
Citizens.
They're citizens. You understand? On the 20th, I will be in Shrosell opening the musical program that we spent almost $384,000. The only such program in Shrosell. At the ceremony will be the parliamentary representative, because demand-driven interventions under the BNTF is how we select, interventions. And it is assessed by the Caribbean Development Bank, by the consultants and whatever you, and said, no, we will not do this, yes, we'll do this. There's a water project in installation of a water tank of almost 100,000 gallons in Shrosell, and the musical project. This is certainly not a government that subscribed to the Belrose doctrine. Cannot. Yeah. So then when you move to the issue of the short-term employment program, $20 million was spent over that period. Short-term employment program. Over 30,000 persons participated in that period. You understand why the people who are doing the statistics on unemployment would reflect that our unemployment rate
is
and I'm only realizing that certainly there's reasons for it to, because look at the figure. Short-term employment program, it adds. That's the reason why there's a buzz in the economy, because persons are participating in dignified work.
That's right.
You understand? Short-term employment program. Andrew, one of the things I love about the short-term employment program, I have from my constituency, and I hope she understands. Eva is the shortest person on the island in St. Lucia, right? Most beautiful. She's a social worker. She's working at the St. Lucia Social Development Fund. Jason, I hope Jason is listening to me this morning. Jason lives at Mark. He has a disability. He stays on his back most of the time, but he's employed with the St. Lucia Social Development Fund. You understand? Wendell Dupree is on a wheelchair, but the man I love to give a desilting contract more than anybody else. He put his gloves, he put something, and he goes on the ground and he cleans. He works for his money. He's supposed to get a small job, and I heard that he's having a meeting with the young men in Beck. So persons with disability, differently able, but we recognize the capabilities,
yes,
and we engage them. And there are few persons who are seriously, differently able or with their disability who have approached me with certificates.
That's right.
For employment, empowerment. They feel, boy, this government is employing people with disabilities too.
That's right.
Hey, you understand, even with the speech difficulty, come to the Minister of Equity and ask to be employed.
Before I open the lines, I consider the excitement, and I know you have to come back, because I didn't know you were doing so much. And you're doing a whole lot. Impacting the lives of so many solutions.
Ordinary people. You see, the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment is the ministry that speaks to the doctrine of the Labour Party, bread, justice, and freedom.
Correct. Yeah.
And it is not, in fact, the scripture says, it's not the hearers of the word that matters, but the doers. And if there's one ministry that, accentuate the principle and doctrine of the Labour Party through the heart of the Prime Minister Joseph, is the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice.
I am beginning to see that. No, I'm listening, and I'm now realizing that everything else it springs from that. So that is the foundation there, and all the health, education,
so everything. So you bring persons who would fall through the cracks, ordinarily be forgotten.
And one of them I want to go through the cracks just before we open the lines. The Boys Training Center.
Well, yes, I really have other areas that I will not go through, because we're doing a lot more than that. But the Boys Training Center the juvenile center is an area that is so important to us, to the government, because here again we have young men, and some researchers, some of them may be mentally challenged. We know the story of what happened some years ago with the young man who went, and this awful thing happened. And Alexis, my heart goes out to you again. Even at this time, but we cannot abandon children. And the manifesto speaks to we passing the Child's Justice Act and what have you, and justice is everything. So do we abandon young people because of this incident? No. So we have given a school to be repurposed. And what I love about the Prime Minister is to repurpose a school for a juvenile center. It's so positive, Andre, because a young man now being in a juvenile center in a building that was once a school speak completely different to his psyche than if you had repurposed, let's say, a police station or the custody suite. You understand? Almost give the impression that you're graduating to Bodilés as against in a school. You understand? So the repurpose of the school in Cul-de-sac, George Charles Secondary School, that is ongoing. We have had the plans. The Caribbean Development Bank was present this month doing a review, and very shortly we would be, doing work to really make have the best juvenile center in the region. And I think what we are trying to do there, I suspect we will be in for a lot of visits from other people around the world to see what we are doing here with our young people.
So you're looking at that.
That is what we are thinking of. And when I spoke with some of the young men at the Boys Training Center currently, I had a conversation with them about the new juvenile center. So they said to me, Minister, we want to live here, I said to them, yeah, but in the design, one of the best games room in St. Lucia will be at that juvenile center. They say, so when are we going? They got excited, because of course you really want to make it a home for children, a place where children want to be. They ask me questions about, so I heard that there'll be girls and boys, and they start to smile at each other. And we said, yes, there may be. You understand? It's healthy to have a juvenile center that cater for both boys and girls.
Yes.
You understand? And they smile, and just to create an environment that could inspire hope. And I'm not saying that is the panacea for all of our problems, because we have a lot more dealing with.
Yes.
But as we struggle, as we work, and as a government we try to respond and make a contribution to nation building, these things are important. Those who come after, if they build on that and use their intelligence, St. Lucia will be going far. But if what I observe as the conversation in the politics, that just because you're trying to get in, the smearing of names, Andre, you understand, the lies, the gossip on children, you understand, is something that I've discussed with the Archbishop. You understand, person saying whose father, the child is a person and the child has a right. Nothing hurts me, Andre, in social work to see that people who cannot speak for themselves are abused. Children, senior persons, sick persons. And sometimes adults represent them in the wrong way. You understand? And I told the Archbishop he must spend some time in speaking of gossip, not of adults, because when they gossip about me, I can answer. But what's about a child who's unable to answer? What's about a sick person? You understand? That kind of abuse. And it's a matter that I've also, mentioned to the Attorney General. We need to look at our abusive laws to see where we can address some of these things, because people cannot have a license to just smear people that are not even in politics. You understand? I was somewhere with a child, somebody took my photo with the child and posted to say, I have 14 children in the constituency. I called the person and I said, it's fine to say I have 14, but can you blur the face of that child?
Yes.
You understand? Take the child out of that, because the person, that kind of insensitivity, You understand?
Yeah, Mr. Minister. Yeah,
You
let's
know?
pause. We take questions now. Honestly, this interview is. I mean, I'm learning a lot. Honestly, I know you have done. I listened to you. You were first up to bat at the budget debates and stuff. You speak about your ministry, but listening firsthand, I'm getting a more, expansive knowledge of what is going on. And I realize, you notice downstairs, I told you, your ministry might not be the most sexy, but I believe it's the most impactful, based on what is coming there. Andre, you could give the numbers.
Mr. Fenelon, all due respects, I don't think we'll have time for calls.
Oh, okay. Now this is not Terence Fenelon because it's a program we take calls.
Yes.
But I have to go if this interview was so enthralling. I was just listening, so we can continue. So we have the boys.
So you have 5 more minutes, huh?
5 more minutes.
Continue.
Andre, these days, Andre putting his foot down on me. He has his foot in my throat. He gave me a chance this day.
We have
okay.
a sponsored program.
I understand, Andre. That's just a little picom.
Yes.
So people, listeners, apologies. It's not deliberate. It is not by design. But the minister is going to be back, because he has a lot, and I forgot my bag, so I have my bag there. He's going to be expounding on all what he's doing, and now you get in. We are now understanding that the Ministry of Equity really is the nerve center of the other ministries, because you do a lot in. You cut across all ministries in terms of assistance.
Yes. So we under the Basic Needs Trust Fund, for example, the on the menu. Basic Need Trust Fund, and it's one of the oldest program in St. Lucia. They're under the Caribbean Development Bank. The thematic areas for intervention is road and access, drainage, education. They have invested millions and millions of dollars through the St. Lucia Social Development Fund for vulnerable people under these themes. Access. Access is people have a right to have access, a right to their home. And it is that I appreciate over the years, that I do not see why it should ever be politicized. It cannot be politicized. And what is more, as a property, somebody who participates in valuing property, you never know who's going to buy that property anyway. You understand? Yeah. So when you politicize roads, but you have to drive on it as the power rep to go there and speak to the UWP if you believe that you should not do UWP. It may be a way of escape. So roads need to be universal, and it's a basic right to every St. Lucian.
Yeah, basic right.
A basic right. You understand? The issue of water and electricity. I mean, what more can one say about electricity and water? I usually tell people, but when God made it, he just placed it in the river. You understand? And he said, let there be light. He did not call you the PSLPs. And you cannot transact this thing. You understand? We promote and we use the Basic Need Trust Fund program for demand driven. So if somebody say that they need a road and we take all of these things, we go to this Caribbean Development Bank. There's a grant signed by the government of St. Lucia and CDB. 95% is grant. Government only give 5%.
95?
95.5. So the total allocation of $12 million, 95% of the $12 million under the BNTF program is grant. From who? Maybe the Canadians, the other countries that deposit their money in the development bank. There are 10 borrowing member countries, but when you have large countries like Canada putting their monies in the Caribbean Development Bank, taxpayers from overseas are making funds available to do things for people. You think I'll go and take it and play politics with it? You understand? A true government that understands development and have love for its people know exactly where to put their politics. Yes? And I can tell you over the years, what I've seen in my constituency for development is skewed in the wrong way. Andre, there are places where the roads stop because of who live next door. and it's laughable because I find like it's almost stupid. You don't do that.
It's not almost stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah, you can't do that. You understand? So, I mean, I'll leave this alone, but you have that kind of practice. And the people know and understand. They transact sometimes because that's what they understand. And for example, land. I have a list of names for lots that was placed by the former power rep. I mean, I will not discuss the names, but you do not select names that way.
Vulnerable persons?
You understand? whether you overseas, you know, you have no connection to the place, your name there for it, you know, you don't do that.
Yeah.
You understand? Not that there are some names that are good and they will. You understand? And I do not have pictures, I have names.
Right.
So I've said to them, all persons who are in right order, they will, because this world is not mine.
Yeah.
I'll not pretend to remove names and land. You can't go with it to the grave. So you could put it, you own it for now. You understand? It's just for a while, and you move on from here. So that will happen. So the Basic Need Trust Fund and the HOPE, Holistic Opportunities for Personal Empowerment, facilitate a lot of social interventions.
What's the acronym? HOPE?
HOPE, Holistic Opportunities for Personal Empowerment. You know, where persons are attached. And some of the things we do, we provide training. And persons who are unemployable, we work with them towards providing training, you know, encourage them to take up a course. And over time, the Kudme Setlisi program, it is one of the most impressive program for safety net, you know, safety net, where you identify critically poor people, chronically or maybe indigent, and sign a contract with them where they now 2 years receiving a small grant from the government. But during these 2 years, there are things that they must do, and you monitor them so that they can graduate out of extreme poverty, not poverty. You understand? So this is beautiful when and one of the stories that is so, you know, I really, it was a young lady who wanted support for her coconut oil, Andre, but she said she needed just a sink and a blender. But she was selling coconut oil and whatever. But she did a stabbing and then she went to prison for some time and things. So, and I was like disappointed. But she came out a few years and lo and behold, coconut oil done, you know, selling again. Back. And I said, what?
You're able to assist her.
Yes, but what I was amazed is the resilience in the sister. You understand? And our people are powerful. And sometimes I hear people attach all kind of characterization. And I'm sure if Mina listening to me this morning, Mina has, you know, 7 kids. You understand? And she's still young. But Mina is a powerful woman. And we work with her. You could see Esther C coming to the office and sometimes crying she's not well and she's having a difficult time. We work with her. I work with her.
Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Minister, but we have to wrap up.
Oh, my God.
We have to wrap up.
I was just going about the faith-based organizations. Would it fall under HOPE? Because I heard
yes,
in the house.
We have, it's part of the work of the ministry. But Andre, and I'm telling listeners, if there is a word they call political righteousness, it exists in the work of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
You understand? For persons who believe everything is politics.
Right.
It is political righteousness to do good to every St. Lucian. And the work of the Ministry of Equity is doing a lot, so much more that I cannot speak of because of time. But I'm sure Andre has received enough as a vaccine that can inoculate his probably some beliefs and can move on to spread some positive in terms of what's happening.
I suspect Andre has been given some orders, you know, do not allow this guy any more than 1 hour. Because these days when Andre is on my foot, man.
No, we have a sponsored program.
Andre, I'm teasing you. Well, Mr. Minister, wow.
Yeah.
Man, it was an education this morning. No. I mean, normally I follow everything, but I had my ignorance rearranged and arranged, and I can speak with a little more authority on the work of the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment.
Thank you.
Andre,
yes,
I want to thank you today. I mean, I ain't too happy, but I want to thank you, Andre. It's always a pleasure to be here. No, and I'm seriously now, in all seriousness, it's always a pleasure to be here. I mean, very accommodating, and I hope listeners would understand, would listen and understand what is being said. We are not here to present any propaganda. We are not here to give you misinformation or disinformation. We present to you the truth and the facts as is. You do with it what you want. Okay, act upon it. All right, we have not lied to you, we have not misled you. So we'll be back again next week. I don't know who. It might very well be Mr. Henry again, I don't know. But you'll be meeting the minister next week, so see you. Is there a holiday coming up?
Yes, next Thursday.
Next Thursday? Oh, there'll be no midday opposition, thank God. The airways will not be polluted. So we'll meet you next week Friday. again in another program of Meet the Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fenelon, and thank you, Mr. Joachim Henry, Minister for Equity, Social Justice. Okay, this has been Meet the Minister. As Terry said, listen again and view again next week, Friday, same time from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Now stand by for Papa Used to Say. That's coming up next.